Welcome to this second webinar for this year of the Skills Lab Network on green transition for sustainable and inclusive growth. I will immediately pass the floor to my colleague Francesca for opening welcome and presentation on the agenda. Francesca, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Cristiana, and good morning, everybody. It's really nice to see you again, and thank you for joining us and taking the time to be together this morning in one of our series of webinars. And today, the topic of the seminar is extremely interesting because it refers to the green transition, but with an angle, with a link to inclusion and inclusive growth. So I think that's really something extremely important for us, for the European Commission, putting sustainability and human beings, people at the center of the political discourse is it's one of the key issues for the European Commission and for us as an agency of the European Commission. Just a point of information before we start. You have probably received an invitation this morning. You probably found it in your mailbox for our upcoming live event that will take place in Torino in October, 9, 10, 11 of October. Many of you have already participated in our live event. You know that's the only live event we organize during the year, and there will be an application process because, of course, we don't have unlimited resources and availability. But if you are interested to come to Torino and be with us, with your network fellows in this discussion, please apply. I think the deadline for the application is set for the 20th of May. And it will be extremely interesting. Hopefully, we took a new angle of discussion because we will discuss about the colors of economy. So colors of economy meaning going beyond the traditional sector approach. And I think it will be really an interesting event. And this event will be organized also in partnership with the ITC ILO. So there will be really an expanded, let's say, number of people attending this event. It will take place in the premises of the ITC ILO here in Turin. And I think it will be really inspirational 3 days. So please have a look if you have received the invitation. We will also post it on our social media, but we would be very happy to have you with us. So to go back to the event of today, I think we have managed to put together one of the best agendas that we have ever really planned, and I really thank our colleague Cristiano for being behind the organization of this event, and of course our friends from Co-Water and Brodolini. So we have really a very rich panel of speakers that represent different parts of the society, different stakeholders. I think that what is really key for us to understand is that we are going through very complex times with crises which are coming one after the other. And what is really important is that there is an ecosystem, a network of different actors that look into the issue and trying to find common solutions. So I don't want to take more time because really the panel is so rich that I want to give the floor to our friends and colleagues. But I wish you a very nice webinar, and it will be really a great learning opportunity also for us and for our work. So thank you very much to all the speakers that accepted to be with us today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Francesca, for your opening words. I'm now glad to pass the floor to my colleague Romain Boitard, who will introduce us and pass a few key messages from ETF side and the work we've done on green skills. Romain, please, over to you.
Thank you, Christina. So, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed members of the Skill Lab, dear newcomers and colleagues, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're connected from. It's a great pleasure to welcome you all to another edition of our Skill Lab webinar as we explore one of our most significant theme, the role of skills and labor in the green transition. This theme not only resonates with the core of the UN and EU policy agenda, but also helps us pave the way for a sustainable and inclusive future. So for a few years already, the SDGs, the Paris Agreement, the European Green Deal have shaped our policies and aspirations, promising not just environmental restoration, but also equitable wealth distribution across our economies. These initiatives are not just about reducing emissions or conserving energy, it's fundamentally about people, ensuring that everyone, particularly women and young people who often face challenges, have a stake in this new green economy. So for those who have followed our previous events, we have now firmly established that social inclusion is an integral part of the green transition. Decarbonization, digitalization are all pointless if citizens, and particularly the most vulnerable ones, are not empowered through employment and education. And inclusive training and employment programs is exactly what we discussed today. The transition towards a greener world demands a robust and adequately skilled workforce to promote green technology. Now, historically, these sectors have been male-dominated. And so by focusing on STEM education and the cultural obstacles, especially for women, we are paving the way for a more diverse leadership in these sectors. And similarly, our youth, the leaders of tomorrow, are being offered gateways to exciting and sustainable careers. So through initiatives that foster skill development and entrepreneurship in green sectors, we are preparing a generation to not only witness, but lead the transformation towards a low carbon economy. So ETF is consistently working to gather skills research practitioners and help them liaise and share expertise and perspectives, and today is no exception. How does Schneider Electric, one of the largest renewable energy multinational, approach women inclusion? How does UNICEF promote green jobs in Africa? How does IRENA track our collective progress? How does the academic world contribute to this endeavor? So if these questions resonate to you, then you're in the right place, because for the next 2 hours, we will deep dive into exactly that. This will undeniably give us a well-rounded overview of how each category of stakeholder has a specific role to promote the green transition. So let's get started and explore what more can be done to make sure the green transition benefits everyone. So as we move through today's sessions, I encourage you all to engage actively, share your insights, and ask questions. Following the panels, please join us in the networking sessions where you can continue the discussions more informally and learn from each other's experiences. Let us work together to build not a greener, just a greener, but a fairer world. And I give back the floor to Cristina. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Romain. Before moving to the first panel, I would suggest to take a family photo. If maybe Eda or Chiara can help on this. If you agree to take a picture, just switch your camera on and we take a picture of all of us. And then we move to the first group panel. Okay, cheers. Chiara, Eda, are you taking care? Can you just please confirm when it's done?
Yes, we are.
All done?
Yes. Yes.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So we will also have a picture from today. So I'm now happy to give the floor to the moderator from the first panel that will focus on the general framework. Francesca, over to you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, and thanks, Roman, for this interesting introduction. Now let's, we're perfectly on time, which never happens, so I'm quite surprised, but I'm very happy because this means that we will give enough time to our friends and colleagues to really speak about their work in the field of green skills with a particular particular reference to the inclusion of women and gender policies in the energy sector. So let me introduce first of all our colleague and friend Celia Garcia Baños from IRENA. You know, IRENA is one of the top institutions in the world talking about renewable energies at the ETF, as researchers, as policy advisors to government. I have to say that we very strongly rely on the findings of your reports, and particularly we found extremely insightful the recent report published about the role of women in the renewable energies. So my congratulations, of course, go to you, Celia, and to your team working on this incredibly interesting report. So I would pass you the floor immediately, and I would ask you to share with us your insight and reflection about the topic. Thank you. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. The host has to enable me to share the screen, or if somebody can share the slides that I facilitated before, that would be great. But just in the meantime, just to say, as Francesca mentioned, IRENA has been working on our mandate is to promote renewable energy, but of course, within a just and inclusive transitions framework. So our work from the team where I work has not only focused about gender, it has also been focusing on employment, on the skills that are required for the energy transition. So my presentation will give a little bit of an overview of what we have done. And as Roman said, what are we doing to track how many women are participating in the sector. I'm sorry, the screen sharing tool is still disabled from my side. So if somebody...
I guess my colleagues are checking the technical issues.
Sorry. Now it is perfect.
Yeah, okay. Good.
Okay, so...
it's coming.
Perfect. So the name of the presentation is Renewable Energy: A Gender Perspective, because it's the name of the series of reports that we have been doing on the topic. But I want to first talk a little bit about the broader work that we have been doing, as I mentioned, on jobs and on the skills. We have done several assessments for the last over 10 years, for the last decade, on what is the status of the employment in renewable energy. Why we do this is because I think in general, the energy transition and the renewable energy sector has always been trying to focus on how many gigawatts are being deployed or across the world. But this really doesn't translate into what is this helping societies? How is this making sure that that people are included in this transition? And jobs is one of the many ways to do so. So IRENA started doing these estimations back in 2012. The first effort in this, or the first agency doing this effort. And we don't only focus on what is the number. Quantification is important, but it's more about the nuances. How is the distribution around the world? What are the different dynamics on the labor market? How are these jobs being attached to a broader framework of just transition? Is there social protection? Are there any misalignments occurring on the energy transition? And for that, we are also complementing our research on saying where are these jobs being created across the value chain of renewable energy, and not only on how many jobs are being created, but what are the human resources and capacities required across the value chain, but also what sort of skills are needed, what are the occupational profiles, with the objective of telling countries, if you are aiming to put or to deploy a renewable energy within the country or within the region, you can make sure that many of these skills come from your local capacities, and you don't have to bring external know-how. So the objective of this work is to highlight how there's a lot of potential to create value within countries. And as I said, it's not just about what are these jobs, how are being created, it's like how are benefiting different sectors of society, one of them being women. So we have done several analyses where we have quantified what is the number of women working in the sector. We did first one on the all renewable energy sector, where we estimated that barely a third of the workforce are women. Then we follow up with focusing on wind energy, where we give some worse news, considering that the share of women is barely a fifth of the total, which is very aligned to what the oil and gas has been estimated as well. And in our latest analysis, we see that solar PV is a little bit brighter, with 40% of the total being women. But it's not only about the average, it's also where these regional-wise these shares having a different impact. So our analysis also try to focus on that. I don't get that much into detail. You have it in the slide, and you also have it in the reports that I will share at the end where to find them. But we can see that it is not very balanced, and that different regions have different involvement and inclusion of women in these technologies. Likewise, with what are the activities that have more women. And as we can see, there are some sectors that have a better representation. Interesting to see how the wind energy manufacturing sector has very little women participation, with barely 17%, while solar PV manufacturing, which is normally very concentrated in a particular region, particular country, has a higher participation. So these sort of insights you can find as well in the report. I'm happy to also take later on questions about this and about the analysis. And beyond this as well, we know how many women there are, where are these jobs in terms of the activities, the regions, but where are the occupational profiles? And as you can see in the slide, it is very consistent that in the overall renewable energy, in solar PV, in wind, most of the jobs are being created in administrative positions, which is a very valuable job. It is very, very needed, but it is it is typically less paid, and less the women who work in those positions, or men who work in those positions as well, have less of the decision-taking responsibility. So we can also see how STEM jobs, so science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, are the lowest in all of the different sectors. So while this is consistent, this is also typically jobs that have a higher technical and a higher salary attached to them. And when we talk about managerial positions, the reality is even harder. We can see that based on our analysis, which again also aligns with analysis that have been done for the oil and gas sector, women have very, very, very little voice on decision-making, especially in senior management positions. Solar PV may be faring a little bit better compared to wind energy, but this is still very far away from the economic-wide average and of parity. So for that, our analysis also tries to ask individuals working in the sector, both women and men. Women, what are your struggles? What are your barriers? What are you facing in your day-to-day into entry, progress, or remain in the workforce? And to men, what are your perceptions that women have are affected by this? And our analysis in all the sectors are very consistent that unfortunately cultural and social norms and the perception of gender roles have a major role on these challenges. This is no news. This is not particularly different for the renewable energy sector compared to other sectors, within the energy, different sectors of other activities in the economy, but it's still a reality that we all together need to change. There's some other barriers that were highlighted in the analysis was the prevailing hiring practices that normally bring a bias against women. This was related to entry, so the first job that you have. When we talk about retention, very similar analysis in those years that especially in childbearing years, that typically women sometimes have to postpone or put on hold their careers, while men may not have to, or they are not so expected to do so. These are critical years in the career development of any individual. And in this sense, again, while cultural and social norms play a role, the lack of fairness and transparency in internal policies was highlighted as the biggest challenge. And again, this may result in having a bias, and the fact that there's no paternity leave or long maternity leave, or that there's lack of flexible options in the work was highlighted as retention. It is also worth to mention that retention barriers was always highlighted as the most difficult of the barriers among all our respondents, which makes us be able to say that measures to remove these barriers in these critical years of the career development of a woman will have an automatic result into increasing women's involvement in the renewable energy sector. And last but not least, when we talk about progression, glass ceiling, cultural, which is driven by cultural and social norms, was always highlighted as the biggest challenge. It's interesting to see as well that in general, the lack of required skills or qualifications or the lack of knowledge was never highlighted as the highest of the barriers. So I think this is very, very distinctive to say that when we have the skills, when we have the training, when we have the capacity, so there's no reason whatsoever for not encouraging more women to reach leadership positions and to be in decision-making positions. So in general, just to summarize, we suggest some measures that can help to increase women's participation in the sector. These are measures that are cross-cutting, so sometimes you can do it individually, sometimes it's program-based, sometimes it can be driven by a policy of a country. The first one would be mainstreaming gender perspectives through gender energy policies, gender audits. There's several examples, training in gender awareness within companies, etc. This is the critical and first step. Creating networks and supporting mentorships is also critical. It has been a very male-dominated conversation, and networks have normally been taken mostly in the boys' club, let's say, setting. So it's important to have a space for women to do so. There's also more and more networks coming up and being open. So these are good news. Access to education and training, this is also critical. There are several examples where adjusting curriculum, adjusting how you frame only the description of what the program will entail has resulted in higher participation of women. We have seen how women in STEM are the lowest of all the shares of women within the renewable energy sector. It is the same in other STEM or in other energy industries. So it is important to tackle this and to bring more women into STEM careers at university, including vocational training, because we have seen that in the first slide, that is a very, very big component of renewable energy jobs. Gender targets and quotas. This is setting up goals for gender diversity and equity, encouraging gender components in auctions designs. For example, it will definitely have a positive result in increasing the number of women working. There's several examples in board memberships, in parliaments. There's a lot of countries that are taking more and more steps to it. It does not need to be from one year to another. It can have a 5-year plan. So you have some time to also put training and support systems to ensure that the women who apply to those positions or who will be the leaders in the future have been properly trained. Workplace policies and regulations, it's also, again, critical. There's a need to make fair and transparent internal processes, appraisals and promotions, mentorship programs, and also understand and addressing the wage gaps. There's some examples that have been very successful, but if we don't have that sort of analysis to ensure that women and men are being paid the same, then the problem will persist. And last but not least, work-life balance through part-time employment, flexi-time, and job sharing, not only for women, also for men, to ensure that the play field is level for both. Paid parental leave, again, for both men and women, so men are more involved in raising the children. It is critical, and I will leave it to it. Just to summarize, you can find all the publications at irina.org/publications. As I mentioned, we have a lot of work on jobs assessments, gender, also local capacity assessment, which tackles the occupations and skills and beyond. And I'm happy to take any questions at this point. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Celia. I mean, really extremely interesting insights. I've been taking full of notes. Thank you. Extremely, really interesting. Let me just pass the floor immediately to our next speaker. So we give the possibility to have the full presentation, and then we will also open up for some questions from our members. So the next speaker is Marwa Hamad from Schneider Electric Foundation. I have to say that we have got in touch with Schneider Electric thanks to Marwa, who reached out to us some months ago. And I have to admit that we were really interested by the approach that you are deploying inside a very large corporation. And I think what you do can be very inspirational also for other similar corporations. So Marwa, please, can you share with us what you are doing as part of your gender work?
Yeah, thank you so much, Francisca, actually, and thank you and Roman too for the invitation, and thank you, Celia, for the great presentation that you just did. I need to say that I'm a big fan of your work in the reports that you're doing at the IRENA, and we're always getting inspired from getting the facts on the ground and to know how we could actually, in a beneficial way, have better strategies to empower women and girls in the field. So allow me to share my screen. Apparently, I shared with computer audio, so I got muted. So could you please confirm when you see the screen at the moment? Yeah, here we go. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
Amazing, thank you. So today I'll be presenting to you the gender strategy for skilling and empowering women in the energy transition. But first, I will take you through what actually Schneider is doing in terms of ECGs and how Schneider is supporting girls and women, and actually on a bigger scale, the youth in the energy transition to fill the skills gap in order to have this self-sustained system where youth are filling the gap, and at the same time they're actually improving their quality of life and improving their skills at the same time, and contributing to businesses and contributing to national economy and to private sector success and everything. So we can have a vision of public-private partnerships and how we actually articulate it or utilize it to support youth as an impact company. So mainly I'm responsible for the Youth Education Entrepreneurship Program, which has many strategies or action plans that aim to empower girls and women in the energy transition. And we're focusing on a roadmap that helping to have gender-based efforts to ensure that girls are equipped with the necessary skills and opportunities to fulfill their potential and actively contribute to the energy transition. So firstly, what Schneider is actually doing, or how we started our corporate social responsibility, and how we are identifying ourselves as an impact company. Do we have any questions? I can hear an echo if there is. Okay, fine then. I'll continue. So actually, we're focusing on youth because we're working on the skills gap. So youth is our main target, but also we're targeting women and men who didn't have access to quality of education, training, or employment opportunities. So we can also provide them those opportunities in advance. And also, you can see here that we're focusing on having their voices heard. We're not only working on the operational plan, we're also working on advocacy, and we're working on how to raise awareness about the importance of including youth. And here I'm taking you through history. We started with 1930 Schneider Electric School, which was launched in Paris, in France, sorry. And it was a vocational education school, and we've been working on it till now. We're providing education and training and skilling for students from 18 to 22 years. And we also have the Schneider Electric Foundation. We are replicating the school model, Schneider Electric school model, and over 45 countries. And we are working closely with 400 partners. So I'll take you through how we actually have this process done. But our main objective by 2025 is to reach 1 million youth trained in energy transition. And we already reached over 50% of this goal. And when I mention youth trained, I mean they received a minimum of 120 hours. So it can be extended to 3 years or 5 years based on the country needs and based on the programs that the government is advising us to have. So you can see here our access to countries and our exposure. We're working like basically everywhere. And we're trying to expand our reach. And we are not only working on students or on youth, we're also working on training trainers, because the trainers actually who are providing this training. So Schneider Electric is providing the training, and then afterwards we expand the impact through it. And also we are working with entrepreneurs. We're financing entrepreneurs, and we're providing renewable energy courses, their sessions, and business management and financial literacy. And I'll take you through it afterwards. So taking you through why actually we had this interest in gender, and why we actually believe in the importance of filling the gender gap in order to fill the skills gap. So firstly, we can see that 129 million girls are out of school. They are needs, so out of school training, education, in any sort of like empowerment. And we can see that actually we can find that 4 of 10 girls are out of school in comparison of with 1 in 10 boys. And you can see also those like numbers here: 15 of working 8 women globally would like to work but do not have a job. And also taking this data from the arena, thank you, Celia, that also like we have a women representation in the energy sector. It's only 24%, like we're 2024. And then we still have this very like small number of representation of women. And for STEM fields, we have 32 only representation for women. And we can also know, like, even not only in developing countries, but also developed countries, we can see that women's income are vital for family survival. And usually the whole dependence is lays on women and burden on women. So that's why we thought that we need to have an action, we need to tailor the strategy, and we need to take further steps to support girls and women. Taking you here for our vision and mission, we're actually supporting girls in 3 phases in their life. Like, for example, first, if you are a girl, you're 15 years old girl, and you don't have access to quality education or education at all, in this case, you can be enrolled to one of our schools, like technical and vocational education schools, which are like, we have global access, so you can find it in the capital of the country, and you can find it everywhere. And I also take you through the examples or case studies from countries. This is the first option. And when you finish the program, like the 3 years program, afterwards, you can have access whether to continue your education in university or to start working. And in this case, we also support you by providing CV training and how to have soft skills and how to be integrated in a male-dominant field. So the second option, if you are a girl and you are enrolled in STEM school or STEM university, but you don't have female role models, you don't have the empowerment enough, because we can see that a lot of brilliant girls and women and girls in school and university that are enrolled in STEM, but they don't actually pursue a career in STEM. This is also a problem that Celia highlighted. So the fact that we are providing mentorship, we're providing support for those girls in order to have them also included in the energy transition. The third option, actually, if you are a woman, you're a 40 years old women or 50 years old women, you didn't have access to education. In this case, you can be enrolled to one of our excellence centers, and the excellence centers provide you with the basic skills that you need to be an entrepreneur afterwards if you want. And we also, I just mentioned, we provide all the sleep pillars of how to be an entrepreneur, and we finance the entrepreneurship project that they're having. So yeah, those are the options that we have, the success stories for women and girls in the energy transition. You can see, for example, here, this girl is from South Africa, Pakistan, Brazil, and Egypt. You can be an electrician, you can be an entrepreneur, you can be an energy engineer, and actually, if you want to continue your education and pursue it in a higher level of education, you can be a sustainable solutions consultant. I'll take the chance also to introduce you to our gender strategy we formulated. We've actually been having gender activities since so long time, like since 2009, but we started formalizing and have this strategy in a way to have it as a guidelines or a toolkit for other stakeholders to follow. Usually our way of working, we have three main partners. First, Schneider, which is a financial, the equipment, we provide the equipment, we provide the expertise, we provide the curriculum, and we provide also the market need because we know how the market works. And the second partner is the government, because the government, we need to have the accreditation. We need to know what are the national needs exactly. And the third partner is the local entity or the international organization, and how we have this global local vision to implement the program. So the implementing partner is also a public partner. So we're working that way, and so we thought about tailoring the gender strategy. I'll be also sharing in the chat with you the link if you want to know more about it, and you can actually find some nice global trends about women empowerment in the field. But taking you about the main data you can find here. You can find here the schedule that's shared by the IRENA in 2018, and you can find the main targets that we are having and how we actually pursue, how we are working on the climate change. At the same time, we're working on the energy transition through education and skilling of girls and women. So actually, we're doing this interconnection between the three main access point or action plan that we're having. And here you can find the data that I already shared. I just share with you a video really quickly before moving forward. Just a second, sorry about that. Here we go. It's a very nice video about our activities. Here we are.
This is the story of how sustainable energy and training is lighting up the path of empowerment for women in the heart of West Africa, transforming them into entrepreneurs and uplifting their livelihoods. It has been known that most West African women took responsibility as homemakers, highly contribute to livelihood through entrepreneurship, although many have faced challenges in accessing education and economic opportunities. Together with Plan International and consortium of partners, Schneider Electric Foundation are changing the narrative, economic and social development of women through renewable energies and training in Senegal, Mali and Niger. DESFAS tackles high levels of social, economic and traditional inequality that impede women's participation in economic activities. The journey begins with community awareness and education on how to break barriers and stereotypes around renewable energy. We conducted workshops that empower women with knowledge about sustainable energy solutions, business management, and financial literacy. Armed with this newfound expertise, they're taking bold steps towards becoming entrepreneurs.
El proyecto DESFAS es un proyecto de emprendeduría femenina que se desarrolla en 3 países.
I don't know if you can hear me. Yeah, we're having a lot of...
Marwa, I would ask you if you could close within a minute or two, because then we give the floor to the audience to engage with you and with Celia.
Yeah, sure. I have the last point about our activities and mentorship. Taking you just forward for this one, we're having this mentorship activities for girls and women in STEM, and those kind of activities actually supporting girls by providing not only female role models, but actually we're supporting them. As you can see here in Mexico, we have scholarships for students, fully funding their educational journey, and we're empowering them in STEM by volunteering activities from Schneider Electric employees, and also we're establishing STEM labs. So the video that you just saw, it's replicated in so many countries across the globe, but we also have like another initiatives that's related to women in STEM or girls who are enrolled in STEM professions. So yeah, I think that's all on my side. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to elaborate more. Thank you, Francisca.
Thank you very much, Marwa. This was really fascinating. I have to say, it wasn't the first time we talk about all the programs and the approach that you have developed, but I have to say that every time I find it more comprehensive and more enlightening. So thank you very much for sharing that. I've seen that there are already some questions in the chat, and I'm happy to open now for, say, a 10 minutes discussion. I remind you that from 11:30 to 12, we will break out in different groups. So you will have the opportunity, our members will have the opportunity to talk to our speakers in smaller groups and ask more questions. But we start now. And before giving the floor to our members, I think that what I want to underline is really, and also ask you, your reflection about, maybe if you could deepen a bit more on key success factors, if you have to, mention one key action that could be taken to really empower women and increase their involvement, concrete involvement in renewable energy jobs. And then how, this is a bit more of a visionary exercise, but how do you envisage the future to be? We're not fortune tellers, but what do you think? Is it gonna go better, and is it gonna be faster than expected, that the number says? And yeah, what's your estimation? But I want to give the floor. Maybe we can collect a few questions, and then I give the floor to you to reply. Please, those who have written in the chat, if they want to take the floor and ask their questions directly. You can also introduce yourself and say where you come from. I've seen a question from Edlira and one from Zebo. Yes, Zebo, please.
Yeah. Hi there. So thank you for the session, and I was really impressed because my area of interest is STEM field. I participate in Tech Woman program. And I'm also trying to support tech girls in Uzbekistan, but we have the same problems. So there are no so many women in this field. And I was interested about measurement. So, and my question was how the companies or your company, Ms. Hammett, how they effectively measure and track the progress of gender diversity and youth participation. What specific metrics and maybe indicators should be included in the roadmap, strategies, or other things which aim to empower women participation? Thank you. I am from Uzbekistan. Yeah.
Thank you, Zebo. Thanks so much. And I pass the floor to Edlira.
Yes, thank you, and hello to everyone. I'm also very positively impressed by both presentations. And my question, I'm looking forward to going deep to the links they share, but my question is related to Schneider, the presentation from Schneider. And if I remember it right, you mentioned that you have established some education academies in more than 40 countries or 45 countries. And I think this is one of the best solutions I see also for the country when I come from. I come from Albania. I work for Helvetas. It's an international organization that on behalf of the Swiss Development Corporation is implementing a youth employment project in Albania. We are 11 years in the market, so we're coming to the end of the project. Our let's say, main objective is creating jobs, but also retaining jobs. And nowadays, with this changing of like climate change and renewable energy, so everything is going around these concepts, not only, first to understand them, but then also to implement them. So, and that's why I said the best option I see is like this establishment of such academies where organizations or companies like yours could twin or could give their greatest impact in education and training. So my question is very practical indeed. So I just wanted to know what are, if you have, or what are the preconditions to establish together with other actors one educational academy in a country, for example, like Albania or any other country. Maybe other participants might be interested as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Elvira. I'll take one more question quickly from Nirjana. I've seen she put it in the chat. If you want to intervene.
Hello, hi. I just wanted to ask a quick question with regarding upskilling and reskilling existing employees within Schneider to match some of the demands that digital transition is sort of imposing on the existing labor force. So is there anything that's being carried out within the enterprise to upskill and reskill women? Thank you.
Thank you, Nirjana. We give the floor to Marwa and Celia for answers and reflections.
So I can start with the first question for Dapu. Thank you so much for your question. Actually, how we measure or what are the metrics? First, as I show you the map, we are measuring numbers. And now we're working actually on a new tool on how to follow up with girls and women after finishing the program. Like we have during the program, before the program assessment, and during the program, and after 6 months of the program. And actually, we're not only working on the economic side or financial side on how they are improving their quality of life, but also we're planning where this tool that we are currently creating is to measure the impact on the community and their impact in two dimensions: the impact, the social impact that they could have on the society. They are women entrepreneurs in the electricity, and at the same time, the impact when it comes to improving the electricity infrastructure in the region and how this specific region didn't have access before. So this is the second pillar of assessment. And we are also working currently on how to measure skills enhancement instead of just having numbers or having, like, if you received a 120 hours training, we're actually assessing the skills that you could have. And in this case, it's very beneficial because we have programs in Europe and we have programs in Middle East and we have programs in Latin America. So the skills that we're not starting from scratch because we have different set of skills. So we are actually tailoring this tool in order to measure also how the skills enhancement happened and the percentage of it and what are the skills that we are targeting. So I hope that this answered your question, but feel free to contact me and I can share with you more details on how we are actually measuring it and how we're creating this tool. We have another question from Idrira, I guess. Yeah. So yeah, if I can move forward, the question was about mainly Albania, but in general, what are the preconditions? So the first condition that we have, but this is for the program until 2025, like after 2025, we have different conditions. We're working now on the strategy for 2030, so we could have other conditions. But for the moment, if you want to have a collaboration with Schneider, first of all, you need to tailor a program. Like we need to have a partner in the country, the implementing partner, that will be providing a training of minimum of 120 hours. And the focus, actually, we don't always have this condition of including always 100% women, but we can have a 50% women based on the country need as well. And just from your side, you're proposing to us that those are the country needs and those are the skills required. And afterwards, we provide the equipment, we provide the curriculum, and we're working on this together. So mainly this is how the partnerships happen, but mainly the main condition is 120 hours. I hope this this answered the question. Yeah, okay, moving to the next question. Also, I know we're tight on time. So thank you so much for your question, Nirjana, about the digital transition or digital transformation. So we have, you're asking a question more of internally, how we empower women within Schneider. This question is more revolved about our care policy because we have the concept of 30, 40, 50 inclusion. Like we have always in the first level employees, we have 50% representation of women. And how we actually provide this, we have our team in the same department. We have the team on digital skilling, and this team is providing, for example, with the International Center with International Trade Center, with many other entities like UNICEF and so on. We are providing training program, and those programs are digital programs. So it's actually available internally for Schneider employees. But to be more specific, because my field of action is actually externally, we're also the schools that we're having, or the academies, we have laboratories.
Marwa, I lost you. I don't know if it is my problem only, or also from others.
Yeah, the same here.
Marwa got frozen for a second. We wait a moment. Otherwise, maybe just to gain time, because we are eating up already the time of the next session, I would ask Celia if you have any comments or reflection after the round of questions.
Yes, just a couple of remarks. One saying, when we talk about tracking how many women there are, I mean, it's in my case, what we try to do is to make a survey. I'm leaving in the chat the new survey that we have available. This is for organizations. I hope Schneider and other organizations will be filling it, but also for individuals, both, as I said, women, to see what are the challenges that we live, and men, what are the perception. So I encourage you and I ask you, I would be very grateful if you can provide your inputs. I'm very happy to see that in this meeting there's a lot of men, which is not the typical reaction to any event that talks about gender. So very happy to see that. And Sebo, on your point, just as a little bit on background, I don't know if you are familiar with an OSCE and GWN report on Central Asia. So that's something that may be of your interest to check. And because they also have some mentoring programs, I'm leaving it as well in the chat. And just to finalize from my side on your question, Francesca, on where do we see the future and where are we seeing? I really hope that the path of deployment measures picks up, because if not, we may not see that much progress in the next years. There's studies that show that if, for example, in pay gap, if we keep the current rhythm of measures, we can take more than 120 years to reach parity. So it doesn't look good, but that doesn't mean that it's not going to change the path, and a lot of improvements are going to be happening in the next year. This is what I was referring to, especially those for leadership. There's a lot of women with the skills, there's a lot of women with the capacities, so targets and quotas can help. And if in any case there's some particular skill or a particular sector that does not have women right now with the skills, when you set a target, you can also set program development to ensure that when the target deadline comes, there's a big pool of candidates to complete and to fulfill those positions. So I think that should be easy to be fulfilled. So I'm going to try to leave it in a high note and a positive set, saying that it's going to happen, the transition is going to happen, and the transition is going to be inclusive, and women will be part of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Celia, for these concluding words. And what I really take from this, especially from this last comment, is that the future is not predetermined. It really depends on what we collectively do to make a better future happen. And I think it's particularly relevant when we talk about sustainability, the green transition, and women inclusion in the labor market, which is a human right after all, on which we really firmly believe. With this, I conclude this first session, and I really warmly thank Celia and Marwa for their contribution. It was really enlightening. Again, we will continue the discussion with Marwa and Celia in the working group. So I know there are more questions in the chat. Sorry, we were not able to ask and reply to all of them, but there will be more time. Join their working group at 11:30 to follow up with them. And I'll pass back the floor to Cristiana. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Francesca, and thanks for the two speakers who were already presented. I'm now happy to give the floor to
There's an echo, Cristiana. There's an echo.
I'm sorry. Can you hear me? Because I have no other devices connected. I give you, Najib, the floor as moderator, so that I try to solve the issue.
Okay, thank you, Christiana. Thank you, everybody, for being here in this ETF highlight webinar. Yes, we have strong and experts in the field of inclusion and green transition. We have with us Mr. Michael Schinnenbrave. Sorry if I misspell your name. And Nader Salama. Michael is from UNICEF. I'm sure he has a lot of stories to tell us and a lot of insights. Nader Salama is an expert, education expert, and he's also very involved in CSOs. Without waiting, I would give the floor to Michael. Yes, first, if you, yes, if you'd like to.
Thank you very much. Just confirm that you can hear me.
Yes.
If you read, super, wonderful. I'm currently in South Africa. I hope electricity and internet bears with me. Please allow me to share my screen. Oops. Yeah, so my name is Michael, working with UNICEF. Great to see some old friends here. And also shout out to Schneider, which is a trusted friend of UNICEF, and I heard colleagues mentioning it a couple of times. So I'm working with a program that's called YOMA, which is the digital marketplace where we try to connect youth with opportunities. So we face some two major challenges. On the one hand, we face the climate crisis, which we're all aware about. And at the same time, we face the challenge of unemployment, not only in Africa, but globally. And YOMA, respectively Green YOMA, is trying to tackle that by connecting youth with opportunities. We did workshops with youth across the African continent, human-centered design workshops, and we basically asked them, what are your largest challenges in fulfilling your potential? And they gave us 2 points. Number one is, there is support to youth, but it's fragmented and it's difficult to navigate. So even if you have online learnings available or NGOs you can work with, it's really hard to navigate. And if I remember my time at university, it was quite similar. And the second point is, talent is universal, opportunities are not. So it's hard to find opportunities when it comes to work experience, internships, and other parts. And they basically tasked us and asked us at UNICEF to find solutions for that. What we designed is YOMA. YOMA is an ecosystem solution that is providing learning to earning pathways for young people. And Green YOMA is especially focusing on the emerging green economy, while at the same time trying to address the Sustainable Development Goals. We are working Pan-African. We're also setting up programs in Eastern Caribbean, Southeast Asia, and we're actually also hopefully moving into Europe and European neighborhood countries. So it's, as Albania was already mentioned today, Mirdita, this would actually be one of our countries I'm really interested in. We are youth-centric, so we really try to put the youth at the center of everything that's happening. Open source, we put trust at the very heart. Impact and data-driven, and plenty of other words that still don't actually describe what we are and what we do. Before going into that, I really need to show you this rather complicated slide. It shows all of the Sustainable Development Goals and different color codes. So why do I show this to you? Because we at YOMA believe in the concept of experiential learning, which is basically learning by doing. And citizens were already mentioned today that it's important to put the citizens back at the heart of development. And we want to do this through citizen science, which means that everyone can be a citizen in one way or another by collecting data that can be used by real citizens, real scientists, under quotation mark, to analyze progress against SDGs and also identify gaps and guide us on where to strengthen our efforts. So this slide shows you partly with the green boxes where citizen science is already used to collect data. And all of these yellow dotted boxes show you where citizen science could potentially be used. So this is where young people working as citizen scientists could collect data that helps us a lot. And then you see the black boxes, and this is where remote sensing is being used, which is another data source that we want to use. So in order to get a bit more concrete, what is YOMA now? And things will hopefully fall into place now. YOMA is based on three pillars. The GROW pillar. Let me see if I can use the laser pointer here. The GROW pillar, which is we want to equip youth with skills that are relevant for green jobs and the green economy. The impact pillar, so we actually want to directly work with youth to achieve something. So it's not only about learning, but it's putting it into practice through citizen science or impact work. And then we have the Thrive dimension. So we actually want to allow them through these different steps to build a digital CV to transition them into the green economy. So how does it work? We have a young person, I call her Chikondi, because she lives in Malawi at this point, sign up with YOMA and create a self-sovereign identity, which is a technical concept allowing her to always stay the custodian of her own data. So she's not a data product that's used in Silicon Valley, but she's keeping her own data and agency to it. Once she's signed up, she can go to our social media platform, which is called Goodwall, and participate in a challenge. So I remember our first challenge in 2020 when we started YOMA was come up with a COVID business idea, or plant a tree, or learn something that's relevant. Once she joined this challenge and she achieved it, she comes back to our core YOMA system. And that's important to understand for all of you guys, because you're potential partners for us. Core YOMA is a platform that provides opportunities on the opportunity portal to young people who can then choose to dive into these different dots on the learning to earning journey. So once Chikondi achieved that task here, there's a blockchain entry on the digital CV at Core YOMA telling us she has achieved her first challenge. The next one could be citizen science, because it's impact related. A project we did in South Africa, Crop Observe, where young people use an app to take pictures of vegetation, georeferenced vegetation, which is uploaded to IASA, which then uses it to ground truth satellite data. So we're basically seeing with satellites how the vegetation changes by colors, but it's important for the European Space Agency to actually see how the color looks like on the ground. So they need all of this data. Once that's achieved, she gets another digital entry on her CV on Core YOMA, and she even gets Slato token. So Slato is our own crypto token. So she gets incentivized with a token that she can spend in 40,000 outlets in South Africa to buy food, bus ticket, or other parts. So for us, it's important that we don't want to volunteer youth. We actually want to provide them with at least some incentivization to cover the opportunity cost. I met a young person at the Crop Observe, and she said her family, her family had this is a hard story. Her family had the choice of either buying electricity or sending her sister to the clinic. And she was coming to this project and taking the pictures for European Space Agency, received Slato token that she was able to buy electricity with for her family. So they were able to send her sister to the clinic. And it's just one story of many, many stories to tell. So what does she want to do next, Chikondi? We want to give her a learning nugget on climate change and reforestation through our partner of Vatingi, which is the learning management platform of the German Development Corporation, where she learns more about what's happening in that area purely online. Again, once achieved, she's getting another digital entry. She's receiving a token to pay for the data. Next opportunity in Malawi now. So this is an exemplary pathway. Next opportunity in Malawi is she works with another partner, Wells Vasoe, and plants trees. And she can document the progress with citizen science, so taking the geolocation and a picture of the tree that has been planted. Once that's achieved, again, another entry the digital CV, again, tokens or airtime, because she was active and engaged. Then, and we heard about Schneider Electric Academies. We have an African Drone and Data Academy in Malawi, which I actually founded, that we're now scaling into a couple of different countries. And there she would learn how to build drones and pilot drones and how to collect imagery that she can use together with satellite imagery to monitor progress against the SDGs. So that would work in reforestation, for example, or to measure sea level water rising or other parts. Once that's achieved, again, a digital entry. And now You can see the pathways following a structure there. She could even be part of another project we did as YOMA to calculate the biomass that was created here with all of these data sources, and then see if we can potentially tap into the green voluntary carbon market to then reinvest into the whole project cycle. So it's exemplary. It shows what she could do and all across, and it shows also what our partners are contributing to the ecosystem. Now I want to give you a concrete example, and then I'm over with. I want to introduce you to the EnviroGEMS project, which is what we do in South Africa, which is why I'm currently here. So we have two main objectives. On one hand, we have the environmental SDG water, SDG 6, and on the other hand, we again have our aim to support young people, because we're UNICEF, in the learning to earning journey. And what we do with EnviroGEMS is that we train them to take water samples with pretty simple tools, as you can see here, which helps us and the Water Research Council in South Africa to assess the water quality of rivers. What's really cool about it, and I will explain what it is exactly in a moment, what's really cool about it is that the Qualifications Authority of South Africa shows significant interest to formalize this career path into a recognized occupation. So we are basically building new jobs and new job profiles, because this whole question of the future, we really don't know how the future will look like in 10 years, but we want to create agile youth and want to equip them with 21st century skills to move forward and be ready for the new things that pop up. To show you what a step could here look like, what the specific steps would look like. So again, she signs up, then she does an online training course, then she tests it in the field, she does a monitoring plan, stream monitoring, she does a change project, which means even doing river cleanups, social learnings with her community, and then even teach others. So you can see we have a seven steps pathway here, specifically for youth in South Africa working in this field of using easy tools like a water clarity tube. You can see how clean the water is, or a velocity plank, which we use to measure the speed of the water, or to see if there are certain leeches or other animals in the water, which help us to identify how clean it is. And it's very highly calibrated and reflects laboratory tests with 95% precision.
Michael,
I'm over. I'm done almost. So this is just 2-3 examples of what we do. Thank you for your attention. And if you want to discuss, what I'd be interested in is how can we build micro certificates versus changing the curriculum of public schools. And another thing that's important for us at UNICEF is the ability to carry along certificates, because we have this concept of youth on the move, young migrants that are moving across Africa, maybe also into Europe, and how can we equip them with the best.
Thank you very much, Michael. Very amazing. I have at least 10 questions, but I'm not going to ask you. Maybe I can leave the floor now to Nader Salama. And then we go taking questions. Of course, I encourage our guests to ask questions in the chat. And of course, we will have breakdown sessions at 11:30 where we can talk to the speakers. Nader, the floor is yours. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Najib. Hello, everyone. And I would like to welcome all of our audience today. And I extend my great thanks for Christiana and Kiera and Skills Lab Network, and thank you for having me today. And allow me to share with you my screen now. I hope that you can see my screen. Is it obvious now?
It's coming. I think it's yes.
Yes, we got it.
Almost.
Okay.
If you can just enlarge another, if you just can make it bigger a little bit, or we can see only part of it, I think. Can you see it, Nader?
Off screen, Najib.
Is it obvious now? It's now? Yes.
Okay, go on, please. Yes, go ahead.
Okay.
Please, yes.
Okay. So before I begin to give you a brief, detailed information about my presentation, I would like to give you a brief introduction about it. Our study, it's focused on socio-economic benefits for applying circularity activities, and our study has designed and prepared as a result of conducting multiple disk and field research with a lot of FGDs, focus group discussions with multiple employees in local CSOs and NGOs through regions in Egypt here, Greater Cairo, which are Greater Cairo and Upper Egypt. And these CSOs and NGOs has participated and implemented a lot of circularity projects and interventions here in Egypt, which targeted with their final beneficiaries, youth and women, and most isolated and marginalized community here in Egypt. And our study actually did not focus on long-term impact to accelerate the participation of local community members.
Sorry, Nader, can you move the slides?
Yes,
we still have only the first slide. Thank you.
Okay. Moving to the second slide, our study has focused to identify main concept of green skills, and we had to know that, and we had to differentiate between the green activities and other ungreens. In other words, we had to know that the green interventions can be defined and can be defined as all innovative and adaptive skills that ensure sustainable environment for our planet. And we can break down the green skills into two main concepts. The first one is the green concept, which all interventions aiming to achieve sustainable environment for our community, and it could include all environmental friendly activity such as natural preservation, resource management, and zero waste models. And the second pillar and second category of green activities, it could be local carbon intervention such as climate change mitigation or adaptation, renewable energy, and circularity or circular economy practices. So we can here know that circular economy is one of the pillars to achieve green transition for our environment and our planet. And the other concept is the skills itself. We had to define what is the skills and what's.
Can you move the slides?
As all innovative and adaptive skills.
Maybe we can get tech support. It seems that everyone has the same issue with the slides. If you look at the messages.
We cannot see properly the power. Now we see. Now it's better.
Now you see with the slides?
Yes.
Now you see the slides? Okay.
Thank you.
And now?
No.
No?
Now again it's covered.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry for that. So come to the slides of defining the skills. We had defined all the skills as all innovative and adaptive skills, which are very needed to achieve green transition. And we define that it's all the skills that need to increase youth and women participation in green and circularity intervention, which could be promoted in our community by capacity building in green skills, such as collecting and sorting, reporting, repairing, remanufacturing, and redesign, and etc. And TVET curriculum review, adaptation and development, establishing of vocational qualification standard at local levels, conducting sector demands and circular skills analysis. And having these concepts in our minds and all collected data from the field research and FGD's focus group discussions, which have been implemented in studies, we have targeted and defined our overall objectives of our studies, which categorized into two main overall objectives. The first one is to map the feature of green assets that increase job opportunity and other co-benefits for youth and women. And the second one, to identify the role of grassroots initiatives on promoting green and circularity activities, which meet the needs and expectation for youth and women in our local community. When we saying the needs of our local community, we stressed and focused on their actual needs from our grassroots initiatives, and the specific objectives for our studies were the first one is to identify circular practices and its green skills as driven tool to increase job opportunity for youth and young women, identify the main challenges that prevent local community members to participate in green circularity projects, and identify area to intervention to eliminate these challenges. The third specific objectives is monitoring and documenting relevant interventions adopted by local CSOs that promote youth and women participation in green circular projects, making some concrete recommendations towards increasing youth and women participation in grassroots initiatives. And to reach this objective, by reaching these objectives, we can ensure that we can reach specific impact and outcomes for our studies. The impact is green jobs and other co-benefits for youth and women has been increased. Outcomes, circular intervention has been promoted at local levels in 2 Egyptian provinces, Cairo and Sohab. So skills reports for circular jobs across the target 2 sectors, which we have targeted 2 main sectors in our studies, ready-made garments and agricultural waste management, has established and adopted at local community levels, local community context. Self-based jobs and SMEs have been increased in the target 2 sectors, and GD, we have applied a GD, and which is a grant-driven methodology, which helped to enhance CSOs participation and to promote grassroots initiatives, which target to increase more jobs opportunity for youth, women within our local community. Moving to another.
Sorry to interrupt you, Nader. Please, can you conclude in 1 minute? We are a little bit late on time. Yes, thank you.
Yes. To wrap up our study has focused on circular economy itself. So we have defined the circular economy as all sustainable strategy which ensures zero waste design, product life extension, and resource recovery, which is totally opposite to the linear model, which is dependent on take, make, use, dispose, and waste pattern. And we could also define circular economy, which it's all intervention shaped by 3R principle, which reuse, recycle, and reduce. And thank you for your listening, and I can end it up here for here and complete it in other questions. Thank you.
Yes, of course. Thank you very much, Nader. Very insightful. Now, please, all our guests, if you have any question, you can ask Michael or Nader. Or maybe shall I just start by asking Michael a question? So, I mean, there's much use of big data and blockchain in your approach to this issue of growth in the green context and trying to match all that in the context of inclusion. So you also talked about career path. Yes. So is it part of what you think of as the bottom line of your project, that is to guarantee a career path toward insertion into the labor market, or do you consider it as one of the maybe hopeful expected results?
So ideas that we, through experiential learning, allow them to transition into thriving and livelihood opportunities. I'm not sure if it's exactly the labor market, because we have reliable World Bank data and other data that says the labor market in Africa will not be able to absorb the amount of young people. So we've got this youth bulge now entering the labor market. So I think we need to come up with alternative concepts of entrepreneurship, startup companies, basically creating your own work, So I think labor market is a bit too tight as a concept. But the overall idea is to transition youth into livelihood opportunities while equipping them with the 21st century skills to do so. Yeah, over.
Great, thank you very much, Michael. A question to Nader, please, if you don't mind. Can you hear me, Nader? Yes?
Yes, sure.
Just one question from my side. Of course, I invite our guests to ask questions. They can take the floor, ask the floor by microphone, by speaking, or asking the floor by chat. Michael, you said that you also worked on curriculum. How do you embed an approach to inclusion into the curriculum in the work that you are doing? Nader, did you hear me?
The question for me or for my?
No, it's for you.
Nader,
if you don't mind.
Could you,
for you.
Okay, could you rephrase it, please? Rephrase it, please.
Yes. Yes, in the outstanding work you do, you say that you worked also on curriculum. So how do you? Yes, how
Vivid curriculums.
So what is your approach to inclusion when it comes to curriculum? Yes,
we have focused in curriculums in local CSOs and NGOs. We have developed some curriculums related to enhance the skills, the circularity skills, which is sorting and reporting and remanufacturing and designing. We have established some initial. It's not the whole picture of curriculums which could be exist in our formal education, but it's small training curriculums which specifically addressed to this specific skills, which is totally neglected in our former pivot curriculums in Egypt here, and I think throughout the world, because all the ordinary and normal curriculums does not focus in these specific circularity skills. They all focusing and to teach students just skills is ordinary and we could say bust-shaped skills, which is not relevant to all our green interventions, objectives, our green activities today in our community. So we focused just in these small set of skills as I have mentioned, we just targeted two main sectors, ready-made garments and agriculture waste management. So we adopted this small set of skills in these two main sectors. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nader. Now, with some 2 minutes late in time, I give the floor to Christiana, maybe for the conclusions. Of course, I invite everyone to stay with us because we are going to have another discussion in the breaking rooms. Or Roman is asking.
Yeah. Roman, and also a question in the chat as well.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to point out that Rodion asked a question to Michael, which I thought was very pertinent, and I'm really curious to hear the answer. Rodion, would you like to formulate that question yourself?
Thank you, Roman. Hello, everybody. And basically, I got the answer from Michael, which is very well. Well, in fact, I understand that was the path which Michael described was quite a schematic one. But what impressed me much was this quite a short distance between planting trees and operating drones, and which from my point of view requires absolutely different set of skills and knowledge. And it was amazing knowing that Michael has experience that people could do it, which is very nice. But I got the answer that this was just a kind of illustration for for the possibility the youth can take. And my question basically, which comes from the previous one, is that from your experience, Michael, is it and you said that people and youth sometimes leaves this general track with well at a certain stage which you showed. But from your experience, is it enough, for example, for the youth to stop at a certain stage of that path and start or explore his or her career with that or those set of skills and knowledge they received during this educational period or skilling period?
Thanks for the question, which is a very valid one. So our big hope is that people will leave YOMA. Young people will leave YOMA because they will basically find their employment, find their business idea, and follow through with it. And our second basic hope is the only reason for them to stay at YOMA is to become mentors for other youth. Because we also have this peer mentoring program where more experienced youth can then work together with new youth to help them along the way. So they are not intended there to stay as beneficiaries or as clients forever, but actually to grow out of YOMA in a way. So about the pathways, so we designed one pathway together with SAP, which is more of a digital pathway, because they wanna hire young people to work within the group of companies across Africa, and we designed YOMA as a funnel. So we would reach a lot of youth in the beginning with different upskilling methods and impact methods, and then in the end also provide job opportunities, and SAP would basically hire them. And that's also a bit of the overall concept of YOMA. We do not only want to focus on those who get the job in the end, in this case as traditional employment, but we want to reach as many as possible to upskill them in one way or another. If it's enough, if they receive this upskilling or that upskilling remains to be seen. So I think if they scale out of YOMA, it's either because they've found their new way and they don't need it anymore, or we did not provide them with the opportunities they wanted at this specific point. And for the second one, it's our task as UNICEF and YOMA ecosystem to provide them with additional opportunities to be able to thrive. Thanks, and over.
Thank you very much, Roman. If I may, one hopefully quick question also to Michael. But working in Africa, I mean, as I understood, you are operating at the Pan-African scale. Have you ever faced the situation, for example, from country to country, when the certificates or the other credentials that you give are not accepted in one country or another due to the, I don't know, bureaucratic barriers or something else? And if so, how do you overcome this?
So currently, we're not really facing on traditional education pathways. So we're more trying to either complete traditional by out-of-school training, or we try to focus on out-of-school youth. And there the certificates mainly carry weight because they're being issued by YOMA and UNICEF in collaboration with partners. If we want to change the traditional educational system, where we have colleagues at UNICEF working at, this is more of a long-scale endeavor, to be honest. It takes years to update the curriculum and get it accredited within the system. So this is not something we're aiming at. If we do trainings like in the tech sector, for example, we train young coders in collaboration with Google. And Umuzi, which is a Pan-African training school, this youth is really sought for and they find jobs. So if we look at the African Drone and Data Academy, 90% of our graduates find jobs or self-employment within 3 months. So we have quite convincing numbers there. but we do not directly address the traditional education system with YOMA. It's a bit outside of that area. Over.
Christiana?
Okay, fine. So thank you very much for to all the speakers for such an impressive presentation. I hope you don't hear an echo any longer when I.
Yes,
we do.
Sorry.
We do.
You are in a mountain, Christiana, I think.
I don't know what to do. I'm really sorry. I will be very short. Hope not to bother too much, but I really don't know how to manage. Thank you. Thanks to the speakers for such impressive presentation, to all the participants for being with us today. We had the chance to listen to different experiences on green skills and how to increase the sustainability of the economy, in particular focusing on what can be the benefits for some groups which face difficulties with labor market inclusion. I would like to reconfirm that the presentations of today, as well as the recording of the webinar, will be made available in the next few days in ETF Open Space. I have added in the chat the link where you can find it. Thank you once more, and we look forward to meet you in June, when the activities of the network are planned on the topic of skills for the digital age. Now we're concluding the plenary session, but it's not over. We are launching now the informal networking session. We are moving to breakout rooms. It will be 4 rooms, each hosting one of today's speakers. So you will have the opportunity to meet the speakers and ask more questions and details of their presentation. So you can just choose the room you are most interested in. I see now we have to confirm the speaking. No.
You should see a message coming up, I suppose, right?
Yeah, exactly. Ada, maybe we should see breakout groups appearing here.
Thank you. Thank you for those that I will not see in the group.
You can find the button in the bottom of your screen. You can choose room 1 with Celia, room 2 with Marva, room 3 with Michael, room 4 with Nader. Just pick the one you prefer.